This is like the most exciting show I think I will ever have. And I know that you're excited for it too. What a get this is. What a get to be able to have two of my favorite people that don't even know me. I know that you're so excited for it too. So without any further ado, I present to you King David, Yannetti, and Bobby Scissorhands Alessi, the amazing attorneys, two of just the amazing attorneys for the defense team of Karen Read. Hi.
I am so excited to be here, Melanie. You have been so awesome for us, both professionally and personally, and I'm really honored that you asked us to be here.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm so glad you came. Bob, it's really nice to meet you. David and I had the opportunity to meet last year when I went to the trial, and I hope that we'll get a chance to meet soon. But we have certainly enjoyed watching you on our TV.
Well, thank you. I've watched you, and I watched you a bit during the trial. So we may not have known each other formally, but I tuned in to listen to the endless Melanie little wisdom, and you had great insights that I benefited from them. So I peeked in and benefited. So nice to talk with you in person.
You're too kind. Thank you. Tell me what kind of music that you like. Like, who's your favorite band? And then secondly, if there is a song that's in your head that will you always remind you of this case or this trial, tell me what it is so I can put it on the list.
I like music from the 60s. I mean, I'm not that old. The Rolling Stones are my number one band. They always have been. But I like the Beatles and the Doors, and
I love all kinds of music, and I play all kinds of music. If when the team would come in my room, sometimes I would have classical music on. I love all kinds of classical music. I like rap, all kinds of Biggie Smalls, Mace, you name it. I like the rap. I like hip hop, everything Eric Clapton, Yardbirds, you name it, every band he was in. I go through to Bad Company, and then my workout station is I have Sirius XM. So I Lithium, which is a little bit of the 90s grunge rock, and I love all of those artists. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
You were telling me about some of the witnesses that you didn't get to cross that you really wish you did that were not called by the Commonwealth.
I spent probably 100 hours preparing for the cross of Brian Albert. I hosied him at the start of the trial. Nobody fought me hard enough to win the right to cross-examine him. So he was mine. I mean, legitimately never prepared a cross-examination like that in my 36-year career, ever. I was so ready. And on the one hand, I was very disappointed that he wasn't called because, nobody will ever see that cross. That it's all in my head and in my dreams. But on the other hand, for the good of the case, for the good of Karen Read, which is always what this is about. It's not about egos. It's not about personal gain. None of this is about that. It is about what was right for the case, what was right for Karen. And my experience, having tried, some third-party culprit cases, my experience has been when the government, the Commonwealth in Massachusetts, produces the third-party culprit, it becomes more difficult for the defense to win the case. But when the Commonwealth fails, or in this case, chooses not to call potential third-party culprits, it becomes difficult for them to win the case. Brian Higgins in trial 2 was a very different character in terms of how he was portrayed to the jury than in trial 1. I thought it was night and day. Whatever you think about his testimony in trial 1, there is always an element where somebody is humanized when you hear his or her voice. Think of what the jury knew about Brian Higgins in trial 2. All they knew were those menacing videos in the waterfall. It was pointed out to this jury in trial 2 for the first time that John O'Keefe came over and kissed Karen Reed in a way that was described as so sweet by Karina Kolakithis, right in front of Brian Higgins, who had texted her, well, and it takes on a sinister tone. He's now drinking. The jury can see that he's drinking on the videos. They see that he sees the kiss. And it's after that that he's saying, so insistent, that John, come with them, even to the point where Chris Albert had to grab his arm it looked like he was trying to pull him away. And then after that, you see him kind of skulking about the Canton police station, doing what exactly after a night of drinking at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and on the phone with a call that's never explained. I mean, that's what the jury got in trial too, and they got that because nobody called Brian Higgins to explain any of it. My personal view is I think that hurt the Commonwealth. I think it hurt the Commonwealth that they didn't call Brian Albert. I think it hurt the Commonwealth that they didn't call Michael Proctor.
I did see a little bit of the Brian Albert cross-examination because in the war room, I went in there one time. We had a very long table, and half the table was taken up with David's preparation for Brian Albert. And I think the Department of Defense, with its recent bombing efforts in Iran, might have to take a second seat to the planning and the documents that David Yannetti had out for the cross of Brian Albert. And it had some vestiges of old school. David had like some cutouts of literal pieces of paper with subject headings, and he would have it on top of different evidence, etc. It was quite a process and quite a sight to see. So I did get a little glimpse into to what David was preparing. As regards to Buchanan, all I can say is I would take that trade every single day of the week, him testifying instead of Proctor, and his reading of those texts. To me, it was all a very net plus. Add to all of that AJ's excellent cross of Buchanan, and that's one witness that I would have liked to have seen on the stand day after day after day after day. He couldn't have stayed too long for me.
Agree.
We, as you do, Melanie, deal with witnesses a lot, and the underlying message to them is tell the truth. Be firm in what you believe. Don't be a jerk. And your job is to assist the jury in finding the truth. It's pretty simple. And if you're asked tough questions, be smart, but give honest answers, and we'll take care of any issues on redirect. But just be, and it almost seemed like for some reason they had the opposite of that in their minds. And there were several of those witnesses. And certainly as regards their, quote, experts, I thought Dr. Welcher was the paradigmatic example of how not to be an expert witness.
So smarmy. He was so smart. What was the most, not that any of this is fun because, a woman was facing life in prison, but Bob, for you, what was the most fun Commonwealth expert? Who did you have the most fun with? Because we watched you decimate Shannon with one end, Burgess. We watched you slice and dice Ian Whiffen, who you got to say that Jockey's phone could have been in the house. It was artful. What sticks out to you?
Well, there's really two categories. Yeah, there's two categories of experts. As I told the team when I'm crossing experts, my goal is to what I call shake hands with the opposite expert witness. Shake hands meaning get them to agree with me in our theory of the case. And I thought that happened with a number of experts. Ian Whiffen was one. The one I had the most fun with was Jessica Hyde. Jessica Hyde did a bit of tattooing of the defense in the first trial. And she came in with a very confident attitude. She came in on direct examination as sort of the professor teaching, and I know this whole area, etc. And I started out my cross with 4 errors that she made. And it took a while, but I got her to concede on 4 of the errors. And then in the end, got her to shake hands on the Faraday bag, right? That these should have been in the Faraday, because she was so wanting to teach the jury and be right. And after I got her to say she was wrong 4 times, she then wanted to recover. And I gave her all the recovery runway she wanted, because I was hopeful that she would do what she ultimately did, which was agree that how they dealt with the chain of custody of the phone and how they examined it was completely wrong. And in the end, the fun part was, and it was almost like we were frenemies, right? Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Alessi. You know, and it was kind of like a little bit of a competition of who was going to be nicer to the other one. And then in the end, when she admitted that the way they handled the phone, not putting it in a Faraday bag or Faraday box, and if you remember, and this was sort of the ultimate answer to your question and most fun, when she admitted that, yeah, they should have done it much differently. And then she turned to Attorney Brennan after she gave the answer and conceded it. And it's how I ended my cross. And she turned to him and said, sorry. She mouthed to him, sorry, like, sorry, I had to agree with Attorney Alessi on that. That she was the one I had the most fun with, in a much shorter answer, in sort of a 2 fun moments, was with Dr. Welcher, when he was, you know, and his only could do his Dr. Welcher voice was like, what's possible? Well, it's possible that that Lexus could have gone in reverse and jettisoned into the universe. And I said, did you just say that it's possible? And he said, well, yeah, I'm an engineer. Anything's possible. And then when I said to him, I said, you know, and it was just a reaction. I said, okay, let's get back to reality in that. And then David, to the extent you want to hear it, with Dr. Wolf, their neurosurgeon, who I had a completely unorthodox way. And I told the team, without telling them what I was going to do, I said, I've got a very unorthodox way I'm going to start this cross-examination. And I did it. So, you know, it's not one phone moment. Those were the 3, but the goal is to try to, you know, neutralize an expert. But in this trial, I tried to do much more than that to benefit the team.
It seemed to me that nothing personally offended you more, because I felt it too, than when the ethics of your co-counsel were attacked, let's say, by Mr. Brennan. And if you'd like to just speak about that a little, because that really personally hurt my soul as an attorney. I never like to see that happen, and especially when it's completely and totally unwarranted. What say you?
Yeah, and I will tell you that anytime you saw me in court, there was zero theatrics. It was all natural. It was just what came from me at the moment. And you astutely point out that one is one of the apexes of that. I call it the ARCA hoax. It was a hoax from the beginning, that there were things that we were doing wrong, that AJ was doing wrong, any other member of the defense was doing wrong. It was a hoax. It was Brennan's stunt, because he knew how devastating ARCA was, to try to get them not to be able to testify. And it was from he got on the case right up into the bitter end, and he would gaslight and keep saying, I don't, you know, I'm happy for them to, I just want discovery. I just want that. Oh, they can tell.
The Rolling Stones.
And it was not what he was saying it was. Him provoking the judge, I'll never forget it. It was February 11th, and then we had to come back February 18th. But it was all a hoax. It was a hoax, but it was serious, because the judge was on the precipice 3 times to pulling
The Rolling
the
Stones.
pro hoc vice. I fought it with everything I had. David knows that I spent, and this wasn't what I signed up for. I had a full practice. This was pre-trial. I spent 8 full days preparing for that in every angle, because, you know, you get your pro hoc pulled in one jurisdiction, you know, you're in jeopardy in every other jurisdiction you want to practice in. So when I was asked to defend that situation, I took it very seriously, you know, but for the grace of God, that can happen to any of us. And I knew how serious it was and the seriousness of the consequences, but I was outraged. I was outraged as to not only the hoax, but the degree of play it was getting, right? And we were
the grave concerns. The grave concerns.
Yeah. We had a job to do a mission for Karen, and we had to find a way to overcome, right? And
Mhm.
I've said this many times that I kind of analogize to golf handicaps. Like certain golfers get like a +1, +2, and at times it seemed like, at least to me, that the Commonwealth had like a +18 handicap. But we still had to win the golf tournament. We still had to get the verdict, and that's what I focused on. And it was all the more sweeter in the end that we ended up succeeding, even though the handicap was pretty large on the other side.
It's funny that you bring up golf because I heard you, David, say that you're a terrible golfer, but you do golf with your sons. I mean, Bob, do you play golf? Every time the judge would say, "I'll
Oh,
let him have it," I would make a golf joke. Like, we're not in a match play game where you're just gonna make the guy not let the guy not putt it out. Like, I'll let him have it. I'll let him have it. Like we're playing golf over here. It's like I'll allow it. No, it's like overruled or sustained. Those are your choices, but it's I'll allow it. I'll give it to him. If I do not ask this question, a lot of people will be mad at me because a lot of people sent me this question, and that is to both of you, but mostly Bob. What is your workout regimen? Do you use any apps for your workouts? And tell us about your nutrition plan or your diet plan, because mostly men sent me that question, and if I don't ask it, they'll be mad at me.
Yeah, so David knows my workout plan. I had the great pleasure every once in a while of going to the Equinox and working out in the gym with David. My workout regimen is every second day I work out straight for about 3 hours, 15 minutes, 3 hours, 20 minutes. I do I start with what I call the bike to nowhere, the upright bike, and I do that for about 20, 30 minutes. And then I go lift weights for the rest of the time. And I try to do what I call aerobic lifting, just keep moving from machine to machine. My morning routine, every single morning I get up, I stretch my back and I do core sit-ups. And then I drink 33 ounces of water is the first thing I do in the morning. And you might say, well, geez, it's kind of odd with 33. I've got a container that's 33 ounces and I down it. And I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. And so, that's my regimen. I used to do it every other day, but as you get older, you need more recovery time. And in terms of food, I had the great blessing of my wife, again, who was a prosecutor who basically went in the kitchen and cooked all my meals. And I've got an upside down diet. And I have dinner for breakfast, I have dinner for lunch, and then I start having breakfast for dinner, and I just eat. I'm eating like every 2 hours, and I'm up. I sleep about 2 hours and 30 minutes a night. I skip rope. I had a jump rope. One thing I loved about our hotel room, there are like 18-foot ceilings. It seemed like 16 feet ceilings in the room. So I could jump rope in my room, and given I was a boxer.
What do you want me to do? You just want me to hit you?
Come on, do me this one favor.
Why?
Why? I don't know why. I don't know. Never been in a fight. You?
No, but that's a good thing.
No, it is not. How much can you know about yourself? You've never been in a fight. I don't want to die without any scars. So come on, hit me before I lose my nerve.
Oh, God, this is crazy.
So go crazy. Let her rip.
Hey, I don't know about this.
I love to jump rope.
I don't either, but who gives a shit? No one's watching. What do you care?
My family did an intervention 3 times to stop me from boxing.
Wait, this is crazy. You want me to hit you?
That's right.
What, like in the face?
Surprise me.
This is so fucking stupid.
Every once in a while, I still sneak out and go do some sparring.
Motherfucker! You hit me in the ear!
Well, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Ow! Christ! Why the ear, man?
I fucked it up.
No, that was perfect.
In some musty gym wherever I'm located. But that's pretty much it.
Wow. David, you got anything to
I'll underscore what he just said. 3 hours and more at the gym working out. I have never done that in my life. I feel like I work out hard when I go to the gym, but I pale in comparison to him. And when he says aerobic lifting, we're not working out together. We're doing different things. I have a different routine, but I would, pass by him when I'm going to the water cooler to fill up my water bottle. and he's doing his 5th or 6th set of one exercise that he's going to do before he goes on to the next one, that he's going to do another 8 sets. He's an animal. And that's why he's 67 years old. He's got the body of a 25-year-old. He's one of the healthiest guys I know. So I can't do it. I can't keep up with him. I can't keep up with his schedule. I can't keep up with his workouts. I can't keep up with his food. But you know, I look up to him.
Well, let me say this. I do all of that. I call David the Adonis because his physical fitness, head to toe, overall, he is like an Adonis. And I do all of that, and he still ends up being the Adonis. So I have to do all of that just to have a chance to get toward his stature. So he's much more efficient and ends up with a better result. But I still love him anyway. I still love him anyway.
You know that the picture of you, Bob, and Will the Galera, who is here in the chat somewhere, of flexing on the steps.
Oh my gosh, I saw that. Law Junkie. Alessi posed in a picture with the glare, flexing muscles, 67 years old, and solid muscle mass. Do you guys want to see it? I know you do. I know you want to see it. I'm going to show it to you because he said, Will said in his post, no wonder Massachusetts has such strict gun laws. Crazy. All right, good on them.
Was a big hit. I think a lot of ladies have it as their screensaver. But, you know, I'm not going to give away anyone's secret.
A almost broke an ankle running to her phone to look. Never ran so fast to my phone to look.
One other thing I've been, everyone wants to know, did you guys
Melanie, what's your song? What's your favorite?
Well, the Grateful Dead followed me around for many years. Tannis and I bonded over that. We're both Deadheads. And
so is my wife.
Dave Matthews. So I was, you know,
Yes.
like during the trial one Wednesday, I was like, I have a date with Dave Matthews tonight, you guys. I gotta go. I can't get to all these questions. And so I was like in the pit, 5 feet away from Dave Matthews. That's my thing. Like concerts are my thing. Some people spend money on jewelry and clothes, and concerts are my thing. You know, it keeps me going.
What a head trip it was to walk into a courthouse and walk out of a courthouse and just have strangers cheering for you. I've never experienced and will never experience anything like that in my life. I just drank it up. I wanted to shake hands with everybody. I wanted to thank everybody. I look at it as, you know, I want to tell people just how much we appreciated that. You know, when I lose my mind as I get older, I don't think I will ever forget walking out of the courthouse and seeing that crowd outside cheering for us after the verdict. I mean, it didn't last for that long, but I have this enduring feeling and image in my head of everybody that was out there and just the love I felt for everybody. So, you know, I kind of look at it like, you know, to the extent that anybody, you know, wants a little bit more of us, I am so happy to give it. And, you know, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's out there supporting us. It meant so much to us. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Of course.
Based upon what David said, everybody can better understand why I made the statement that's been quoted a bit. Everybody loves Yannetti. Everybody loves Yannetti. And I don't think there's any ability of David Yannetti to oversaturate anybody. We wanted to come on to YouTube shows closest to the people, closest to the supporters, closest to the people like yourself, Melanie, and everybody else who do things so well and similar to what you do. Their voices were extremely meaningful and impactful to us in so many ways. And I've said before, I felt like an avatar for them and a special responsibility to them to work harder. They motivated me, they exhilarated me. And I'm just so grateful. Your audience love all of you. This is, for us, a joy to do. And we really appreciate being able to keep a connection with everybody.
And that's why you guys are the heroes. And that's why David Yannetti was every one of us when he was wiping his eyes after the verdict, because you're so human and you're like real life heroes. Knowing that Bob Alessi's one of his specialties is Section 1983 claims and RICO actions, we can expect that perhaps we will be covering this case for a long time to come. I certainly hope so. It is my personal hope that Karen Read owns the state of Massachusetts by the time this is all over, because I think that she deserves that. And I think I've never met anybody stronger than Karen. If anybody, they say everything happens for a reason and power of prayer. And I know that Bob, you and Karen went to church together and prayed together. And we have people who were saying the rosary. And, I grew up Catholic, even though I sued the Catholic Church. That's why it was so personal to me. That something about the power of prayer really works. When we had, my verdict show has over 600,000 views. The people were with you. The people were with Karen, and she had her strength in large part because you were there to hold her up. And I've said from the beginning, what is so disturbing about this case is that Karen Read could be any one of us. She could be you, she could be me, your sister, your daughter, your wife. And if this can happen to Karen Read, then it sure as hell can happen to you. And if Karen Read wasn't financially successful and didn't have money to be able to afford the $100,000 cash bail, she would still be sitting in Norfolk County pokey for, up until the second trial, and she would have just been released. And that's what's so disturbing about this on so many levels. And so we just can't thank you enough. And also Alan and Liza, I don't want to leave them out of this. I'm sure they will speak when they feel like the time is right for them. Of course, I don't think there's any bad blood between any of you.
Breaking news, attorney Alan Jackson releasing a scorching new statement on behalf of Karen Read.
This is a targeted statement, and Alan Jackson takes aim right at Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan and Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey. Jackson says, quote, "The jury has spoken, but Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, in an egregious breach of prosecutorial ethics, has tried to publicly shame and discredit that very jury. For him to attempt to supplant his personal views of the jury is a desperate attempt to save face in the wake of a unanimous rejection of the prosecution's case." Jackson goes on to say, quote, "The Commonwealth's defamatory public comments ring hollow to the very constituents they are supposed to serve. It is now crystal clear that disgraced DA Michael Morrissey has no interest in actually seeking justice for John O'Keefe by identifying and prosecuting the real killer or killers." Jackson appears to be responding to the statement Hank Brennan put out yesterday. That's Brennan right there. Brennan described a campaign of, quote, "intimidation and abuse" by Read's camp, calling it the antithesis of justice. And Brennan said no one else was responsible for John O'Keefe's death other than Karen Read.
But the fact that the two of you have chosen to team up on your interviews, I love this so much. Somebody said in the chat, find a man who looks at you the way that Yannetti and Alessi look at each other. And I couldn't say it better. You guys really were the dream team. And, we don't get a lot of modern day heroes or a lot of modern day victories, especially when we're watching trials. And this was such a pleasure and an honor that you would sit down with me. And I am truly, truly grateful and thankful. And I can't thank you guys enough. You're the shizzle.
Yeah, no,
you guys are awesome.
You are awesome.
You guys are really inspirational. And just keep on keeping on.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Melanie. It's a pleasure.
Bye, guys.
I like rap, all kinds of Biggie Smalls.
All of this incident was in furtherance of you protecting a member of the Albert family when they asked for your help, correct?
No, it was me protecting someone who asked for my help who was clearly in fear.
Who happened to be an Albert.
Happened to be an Albert.
All right, you are all set. You're all set, sir.